सो हाय, गुड मॉर्निंग। ये क्लास ठीक है? क्यों, क्या प्रॉब्लम है? उसमें साउंड प्रॉब्लम है। हाँ, हो रही थी ना। उसमें साउंड प्रॉब्लम है उधर तक। हाँ, करोल बाग अच्छा है, बट करोल बाग पे कुछ और चल रहा है। हाँ हाँ, नो शॉप्स नियर बाई दिस, बट उसके लिए 10,000 और फीस देना पड़ेगा उधर में जाने के लिए। चलो, सो टुडे आज हम लोग आर्ट एंड कल्चर स्टार्ट करेंगे, ठीक है? सो फाइनली द डे हैज अराइव्ड दैट वी विल स्टार्ट आर्ट एंड कल्चर। शांत हो जाओ बच्चा, शांत हो जाओ। सब कुछ यहीं पढ़ लोगे तो खुद से क्या पढ़ोगे, ठीक है? जो बचेगा खुद कर लेना। जो नहीं आ रहा है वहां नहीं हो रहा है। सो आर्ट एंड कल्चर। So, near about that, I already told you that how many classes would be there in this one. So 10 to 11 classes would be there, and then एक बार फिर से I'll just enumerate the topics which we are going to read. So one of the most important topic is that architecture and sculpture. So from that we'll be starting today, architecture and sculpture. Then फिर उसके बाद then the next important topic is that we will directly look into the religion and philosophy. So we'll go into the religion and philosophy. And here Buddhism, Jainism, and then tenets of Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, and also the schools of philosophy, which will include the orthodox and heterodox. So orthodox will have 6 schools of philosophy, and then heterodox, where we'll be talking about the Charvak and Ajivika. Then after religion and philosophy, the classical forms. So classical forms, in this we will see two things. One is that classical dance, and then the music. So dance and music, this would be there. Then this is going to be a very large chapter, and then these two only, they will take 6 classes. So, and this is a one class affair. Then painting is also one of the very important chapter. Then language and literature, language and literature. Then after language and literature, next topic would be, we will complete theater also, and what else is remaining? Language and literature, painting already done. So this much would be there, Sufi and Bhakti and Sufi movement. So these all things we'll be looking at. So Bhakti and Sufi. So this much would be there, and if anything extra that is there that is related to the current affairs, so but obvious that is going to be covered in your current affairs section. Particularly that every month we incorporate the things from the art and culture in your current affairs material. And later on, when your prelims is closer, so you will be provided the access to the 365 classes where these all sections are covered, like the GI tag, these kind of things, GI tag or the important tribes and this kind of thing. So that would be covered over there. So you need to keep track of that, your current affairs material. Then, so this much chapters would be there. So today we are going to start with that architecture and sculpture. But before start, few definitions. Then, so tell me, separately tell me that what is art and then what is culture. So what is art? ऐसे ही कुछ भी जनरल बताओ. Expression of human emotions. ठीक है? Not bad. Any other definition? Expression of that particular time. Time you need to remove. Expression of skill. But कौन सा? ये भी तो बताओ. So even expression of skill, intelligence is a skill, but that is not art. Okay? So basically it is manifestation of the human expression. Okay? It is manifestation of the human expression which could be in many forms, tangible and intangible. Okay? So what is tangible? हाँ, जिसको महसूस किया जा सकता है. टच वाला पार्ट हटा देगा, ठीक है. देयर आर मेनी थिंग्स विच कैन बी टच्ड, डन. सो वी विल से दैट जिसे महसूस किया जा सकता है, ठीक है, दैट काइंड ऑफ सेंसरी. एंड देन इनटेंजिबल विच यू ओनली यू कैन सी, ठीक है, which you can only see. So tangible and intangible form of the art would be there. Then now come to the definition of the culture. So culture, अब इसका definition बताओ. Way of living, yes. Yes, very good. So whenever any kind of tradition or belief is repeated and reinforced by the society, that is the culture. Then, so please, I know that what you have read in the modern Indian history, that human evolution के बाद जो भी था, everything was culture. So that definition will not write. Then, so it is that culture is that the repeated faith, norms, tradition, way of life, and when it is reinforced by the society, that is the culture. Then, so it is a way of life, that somebody said that way of life. It is a way you wear your cloth. It is the way you communicate with the others, your language. Then literature is the part of that what kind of literature you are reading. So for example, that there is a Sanskrit literature, there is a Tamil literature, there is a Kannada literature. So they are very kind of close to the heart of the people. So these are there. Then the food that you eat, that is also the part of culture. And that's how we classify that there is a South Indian cuisine, there is a North Indian cuisine, there is a Mughlai cuisine. Then fairs and festival that we celebrate, that is also the part of culture. So overall, in a nutshell, you can say that culture is a way of life. Then culture is a way of life. It's a very good definition. But if you have, if this kind of question is asked in the examination, so then you will be writing that when any kind of way of life is repeated for a long period of time and when it is reinforced by the society, so then it becomes part of culture. Then, so ऐसी बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो repeat हो रही हैं in the society. For example, that there are many atrocities and then atrocities against the women, so which is getting repeated. But it is not the part of the culture. Why? Because society doesn't sanctions it. Then, so when society sanctions it, it becomes a part of the culture. For example, there are many tribal societies where, अब तो नहीं है, but पहले के टाइम पे होते थे, so where the humans were sacrificed. Then, so वो, that was approved by the tribal society. That's why it was the part of their culture, ठीक है. But right now, under the light of the modern knowledge and the humanitarian ground, tribals are moving away from this kind of very superstitious culture. So culture is also one thing which is changing, ever changing. It is not all the time, it is not constant, but culture is also ever changing and we always incorporate new things into the culture. For example, for a very good example is that you must have read in the society that what new changes have been introduced in the Indian culture. So for example, that Western clothes that I can see very clearly in this class, and I myself wearing that. So Western clothes. Then apart from that, English language in which we are teaching, okay? So that has also become the part of our culture because our society has sanctioned it. Then, so it is also ever changing. ऐसा नहीं है कि हमेशा constant ही होता है, ठीक है? So this is how the culture is there. Now, what is the importance of this subject in UPSC examination? Why this particular portion has been kept in the exam? What is the idea behind that this particular art and culture keeping in the main syllabus, prelim syllabus? कुछ भी बताओ? To know the culture and preserve the culture. You're saying something. Heritage of the nation. Just 1 minute. What is that? Yes, very good. Okay. Good. Yes. Very good. And you tell. And listen to her. So I'll give you example. Yes. Yes. So basically what you three guys, you three people said, that they said that it actually helps in deciding the policy of that particular area. That culture is very close to the people, and if their culture is not taken care when the policy is formulated, so but obvious it will backfire. Then so it has backfired. The one example that C gave, I'll explain that example with very elaborately. I'll explain that 2002 was the year, 26th of January, and there was an earthquake in the Gujarat, then Bhuj earthquake. And in that what happened, that many people died. So basically India was not that financially robust at that point of time. So basically we were waiting for the foreign aid which was coming to our way. So one of the biggest aid provider was the US, and US was not only providing the finances, but it was also providing the food aid. And the example that she gave, that vegetarian food and non-vegetarian food. So what was there in the Gujarat, that Gujarat is a Vaishnav state. Vaishnav state, you understand? That means that they don't eat so much of non-veg food. So most of the people, they are vegetarians. And here what was there, that the food aid, which was kind of that food packets which were delivered by the US, they did had this non-vegetarian food, but the surprise of the people, non-vegetarian food have been tolerated by the people of the Gujarat, but most of the people in Gujarat, they are the Hindus, so they didn't tolerate the beef which was supplied in that. Then, so instead of kind of demanding daily life material from the government, they started to protest. Then, so why so? Because it was against their culture. That is there. So it was against their culture. Because of that, they started to protest. So whose job was important at this place? Administrators. Because US doesn't know कि India में भैया क्या culture है. What is the culture in the Gujarat? Then, and what is the composition of the Gujarat population? So our administrator, our IAS officers, our IFS officers, they needed to inform it to the US that this is the particular culture of that area. So the whatever food packets you are going to deliver, it must contain the vegetarian food. And even if you are delivering the non-vegetarian food, so not beyond mutton and chicken. Okay? So iske beyond nahi kar sakte, but that happened. So another example is that let me ask you, I'll give you the example of that. So there was a very severe earthquake in the Bihar, and you know that Bihar from the time immemorial it is known for that, not earthquake, severe flood because of the Kosi and then the 7 tributaries of the Kosi. So heavy flood was there, and So what happened? It was 97-98, somewhere around 97-98. So more than 1,000 villages were drowned in that particular flood, and people were rescued, and people from 1,000 villages, they were stationed at one camp. So but obvious that not all the people know each other because they are from the different villages. So what happened, that after some point of time, that the demand which should be that kind of that when the flood is there, so there is a issue of the waterborne diseases. Then they need a mineral water. They need, in the night time, they need torch. Torch is one of the very important element. So they need the torch, they need medicine, they need this kind of things. But instead of demanding, the very bizarre demand started from that camps of these particular where people were stationed. So you'll be amazed to know that this was a very bizarre demand, and you know what is that? Yes. So that was, so generally people say that it is alcohol, tobacco. No, this was not. It was sindoor. Then, so ek chutki sindoor ki कीमत. So why it was that? Now listen. The situation which was there in the camps, actually what happened, that there were so many sexual atrocities against the women. And then the reason, when the people started to find out that why these sexual atrocities happening in such a severe condition, कि भैया लोगों के जान के लाले पड़े हैं और यहाँ पे ये सब हो रहा है. So when it was inquired, so they found that actually those people, there would be people in the society who will be doing this thing, and what encouraged them, that once they saw that women were not having the sindoor on their forehead, so they just believed that they don't have the husbands, they don't have the family, they are kind of widows, they are orphaned. So that's how you know that men will be men kind of thing. So they started, they started attacking these ladies, attacking not that kind of that sexual atrocities were there. So out of the fear, these women decided that if we put the that cultural mark on our head, so one message will be going to them that they are not orphaned, they are not widows, their husbands are alive, their family is intact. So that's how they started demanding this thing. So you can see that this is a very small commodity of the culture and it plays a very important role. So that's how it is very important. I'll tell you one more thing. That once you are becoming a IAS officer or IPS officer, so for example that if you are from the UP then and then you have got the Tamil Nadu cadre or the Kerala cadre. So there for 3 months there is a provision that after you are completing your training in the Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy, in that particular state cadre, 3 to 4 months, you will be taught that particular language. Because if you are from North India and if you are in Tamil Nadu, if you don't know Tamil, so how can you can communicate with them and how you will understand their problems? Then, so it is equally applicable to the people from South India when they come to the North. So they will be trained in that particular language. Then, so culture is that important. So you got that. So actually, each and every policy is taken, it's kind of that whenever it is formulated, so the cultural aspects are taken care of. Otherwise, it will backfire. Then, so even the policies have the good intention, but if you don't take care of the culture, so it will backfire. Then, so you understood that why this is there in the syllabus. So now, we will start with that. Architecture and sculpture. So here I'll again just like that we have done in ancient and medieval. So I'll give you the timeline that how the classification would be there. So what we are going to read. So already we have covered few things, but first we will divide into architecture. Dhyan rakhna hai isko. We are dividing it in from the perspective of the architecture. So ancient, medieval, and modern. Ancient, medieval and modern. Then in the ancient, the architecture we will start from the Indus Valley civilization. Already we have done some part of that. So Indus Valley civilization. Then Maurya period. The architecture of the Maurya period after Indus Valley. Then post-Maurya period. Post-Maurya period, then Gupta period. So we will see, and here we are going to discuss only architecture and the sculpture of these all periods. Gupta period, and then the last in the ancient would be the South Indian architecture. South Indian architecture. Done. So Indus Valley civilization, Maurya period, post-Maurya period, Gupta period and South Indian architecture. Now come to the medieval period. So medieval, there is a big division. So first of all, here I am dividing it into two. So here, this place I am writing Delhi Sultanate. Delhi Sultanate, and on one side here imperial, and then this side provincial. Imperial and provincial. Then imperial mein, now you just need to listen to me and then uske baad likhna that Delhi Sultanate. So 1206 to 1526 was the Delhi Sultanate. Here imperial means that the architectural style or architectural initiative which was taken by the sultans of the Delhi Sultanate. ठीक है? जैसे खिलजी हो गया, ठीक है, तुगलक हो गए. So these all. So when it is taken by the initiative is taken by the sultans of Delhi Sultanate, that is imperial. What is provincial? That there were many provinces at that point of time which were close to the Delhi Sultanate. So what kind of regional development is there in the provinces? So I'll write the name of those provinces where some different kind of or something closer to the Delhi Sultanate architecture was developing. So imperial में the very first one, we go by that the dynasties only. So जैसे history में पढ़ा है वैसे ही. So we will see the architectural initiative of the slave dynasty. Then second was the Khilji. Third, Tughlaq. And fourth, Sayyid, and then Lodi. So here we'll see their contribution. Now, provincial में क्या क्या है? That there are the 4 provinces which we need to know, which were kind of architecturally important at this point of time. So one province was the Bengal. That second, come to Jaunpur. Third, Malwa. And fourth is the Bijapur. So we'll be reading about these all, and the period would be the 1206 to 1526. In between, this is there. Now, so next part is that Mughal. So here I'll write Mughal, and again in Mughal, what we'll do that again just like that, this division is there. So same kind of division would be there. So one would be the imperial, and other would be the provincial. So imperial, so here you know that Mughal itself is a one dynasty. Okay? It's not like that 4 or 5 dynasties are there. So यहाँ पे what we are going to see contribution of the rulers. Then so Humayun and Babur. Okay? They didn't had any significant contribution, so I'm not writing Humayun and Babur, but I'll tell you that whatever they created. Then so here for the purpose of writing, I'll write Akbar. Then Jahangir. But you know, here we need to write the name of the Noor Jahan also, but it is the kind of that the way we write that the name of the males only. But most of the initiatives at this point of time were taken by Noor Jahan. So we will write in that. Then Shah Jahan. And last is the Aurangzeb. We will also discuss him, but only for the purpose of that he discouraged all forms of the arts and architecture. Then in provincial, there were 2 areas where some new kind of architecture was developing, and that was the Sikh and the Rajput states. Then so one is the Sikh architecture and another is the Rajput architecture. So Sikh and Rajput architecture. So this much would be there. Then now come to the last one, modern. So ancient में इतना, medieval में this much, and then modern. So modern is mostly confined to the Britishers. Then so when Britishers arrived, so 1600 was the year that Britishers started to arrive in India. That they started to arrive, they sent 1598 the East India Company, and 1600 it was approval, and then 1610 Jahangir gave the permission, 1611 Jahangir gave the permission. So basically Britishers arrived by 1600, but they started creating their structure by 1700. Then so 2 kind of architectural styles were introduced, and here modern में what I'll write British architecture. So you write British architecture, and there were 2 types of British architecture. The very beginning is known as the Indo-Gothic architecture. Indo-Gothic architecture. Then and then later on was the Neo-Roman architecture. So these 2 kinds of architectural styles were introduced by the Britishers. So Indo-Gothic and Neo-Roman architecture. And then the last topic would be that I'll discuss some of the architects of the modern India, which will include the Le Corbusier, Charles Correa, and then Karl Heinz. So and also the Laurie Baker. So 4 or 5 architects, modern architects of the India, basically from the 1940s. That's what they have done for this country. Then, so this much topics would be there, and I hope that already we have read the history, so you are clear with the timeline. Or I should write that timeline. Batao. Chalo, I'll write. Indus Valley, 2600 to 1800. Mauryas, 321 to 185 BC. These are the BC. Then post-Maurya 185 BC to 300 AD. Then Gupta 319 AD to 550 AD. Then and South Indian architecture, it started from 550 AD and it continued till, or it will continue. This is the beginning, because that it will continue till the Nayaka rulers of that and 1700 itself. So I'm only writing the start date. Then imperial, here already you know that overall 1206 to 1526. Then so बस यहीं पे लिख के छोड़ दो. And then Mughal 1526 to 1707. Then and then the later Mughal is there. Britishers part. So Britishers, though they arrived in 1600, but their architectural style. So here I'll basically write 1750. Okay? This was introduced. And Neo-Roman 1911. Then so now get back to that Indus Valley civilization. We'll start from there. Not much is left in the Indus Valley because already we have discussed most of the parts of the Indus Valley civilization. So we have discussed the town planning. Again, I'll not discuss, but एक heading के लिए हम लोग यहाँ पे लिख लेंगे, ठीक है? So get back to this particular Indus Valley civilization. So, did I elaborated the seals on that day, very first day? Notes है तुम लोग के पास? एक बार मुझे बस देखना है कि what I have done in that first class. इधर से. Let me see. Town planning we did in very elaborate manner. So town planning we'll just keep for the sake of Pasupati. I mentioned people. So that's already, yes, we have mentioned most of the seals. Then, so we'll keep that. So we'll see that bronze dancing girl, that lost wax technique, and these are the ones which are remaining. So as I said to you in that class also, that if you are asked, suppose that if you are asked that write the two most important artifact and feature of the Indus Valley civilization, so you'll be writing on the town planning and the seals. Then so seals and town planning are the most important, and then other things are there. Then so pottery I did not discuss on that day, so we will start with that seal only. Okay? So one of the very important feature is that seal only. So already you have written few things, but you write again that what was the definition that we wrote? It's a geometrical shaped object. Then so again you write that seal was a geometrical shaped object, mainly made up of soft river stone statite. But here we need to write all the other exceptions also. So soft river stone statite, but there were also instances of chert seals, CHERT. And see, this chert is a kind of a ore related to the copper and zinc. Then mixture of the copper and zinc is there. So chert, then separately copper, then bronze, silver, and gold. So oprum was also there. There are also instances of chert, copper, bronze, silver, and gold seals. Terracotta also you mentioned, and terracotta seals. Gold and terracotta seals. Terracotta seals. Then we have already written the Pasupati, and then we people seal also, and then we will directly write the uses of the seal. So before that, one more thing you mentioned, that they are the one of the they are one of the most important source of information. They are one of the most important source of information about Indus Valley. About Indus Valley. Then you also write the numbers, that how many seals we have got. So near about 4,000 seals we have excavated. Then so you write that near about 4,000 seals have been excavated or found, have been excavated or found. Found from excavations will be better. So or found, दोनों लिख लेना. Excavated or found. Then you write that purpose of the seal. So examples already we have written, Pasupati and those all kind of things. So you write purpose of the seal. So already we have discussed that also in the classes. So एक purpose तुम लोग बताओ, that क्या था? हाँ, trade. It facilitated in the trade. Then second one. Cultural pictographic description was there, which kind of that indicates to us that what is kind of the what kind of symbolism was there in the Indus Valley civilization. Then so first you write that it facilitated in trade and commerce. It facilitated in trade and commerce. It facilitated in trade and commerce. Then second you write that seals were pictographic in nature. Seals were pictographic in nature, and they depict the symbolism of Indus Valley culture. 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 Then uske baad the next factor was that we wrote that it was also used as an education tool. I think that I elaborated that, how it was nahi elaborate kiya tha. To isko ek example ke through, see on the seals that there were so many. Yes, very good. So mathematical symbols were there. Mathematical symbols were there. For example, pi, phi, and psi. So this kind of symbols were there. So we cannot say it conformly, but assumption can be made that maybe it was an education tool. Then, so you write that some of the symbols on the seal, some of the symbols on seals were like mathematical symbols. Mathematical symbols, pi, phi, and psi. You can create this diagram. At least you know that what is pi, phi, psi. So pi, phi, psi, which indicates that it was also used as an education tool. Education tool. Done. And then one more factor that I discussed with you guys, shamanism. Okay? That emulate, it was used as an emulate, and the symbolism which was there, which indicates towards the shamanism. Then, so you write that it was also used in shamanic practices. It was also used in shamanic practices. Shamanic practices. Then religion also, it is indicating that what kind of religion or faith was followed in the Indus Valley. So last one you write that it also indicated religion and faith of Indus Valley people. Religion and faith of Indus Valley people. So already we have covered this part. So this much we'll do, and now we'll move to the pottery, which was not covered over there in the Indus Valley when we are doing in the history. So agla, you write, next you write pottery of the Indus Valley civilization. Pottery of Indus Valley civilization. So I hope you know what is pottery. क्या है बताओ? हाँ, clay baked kind of shapes. ठीक है? So basically they are fire baked clay. ठीक है? Just like the terracotta, they are also fire baked clay utensils. Generally they were utensils. Then so utensils. Then the general pottery of the Indus Valley civilization was red color. It was the general pottery. So you write that the general pottery of Indus Valley was redware pottery. Redware pottery. Redware pottery. Then, but some other kind of pottery were also there. The redware pottery was generally, it was meant for that storage of the grains, storage of the water, and for the cooking purpose. So first you write about this purpose of this one, and then we'll talk about the other potteries. So you write that the general pottery was meant for storage of grains. The general pottery was meant for storage of grains, water, and for cooking purpose. Then after full stop you write, but there were some other kinds of pottery also. So you write that purpose wise likhna, that you write pottery is for decoration. So pottery for decoration purpose. So there were 2-3 types of the decorative pottery. So the very first one you write miniature vessel. I'll create a diagram that what was miniature vessel. So basically this was an elongated pottery. Okay? Narrow and elongated pottery, and beautiful designs were created on this pottery. So it is narrow and elongated pottery, and beautiful designs were created on this pottery. So you can write narrow and elongated pottery with beautiful designs. Done? Then those who all went to the museum, so they must have seen the Fanes pottery. Did you notice that? Fanes pottery. That was also decorative pottery. So next, it was very illuminous then and very bright. So next pottery for the decoration is that Fanes pottery. Fanes is actually a ceramic material. जैसे हम बोलते हैं ना चीनी मिट्टी. Have you heard about that? कि चीनी मिट्टी, bone china, kind of that. So Fanes is also a ceramic material with which they created, and basically this Fanes pottery was basically created in the Gujarat area. ठीक है? Mostly in the Gujarat area. Then that Indus Valley का जो गुजरात में part था, there it was created, and it was also for the decoration. So you can write it was bright and illuminous pottery. It was bright and illuminous pottery. Then, so in decoration, for the purpose of the decoration, we have kept these two kind of pottery. And basically, one more thing you need to note down, that though the general color of the pottery was red, but the designs that they created, they were in black. Then, so you write that generally, the color of pottery was red. Generally, the color of pottery was red. But designs were created in black color. Okay? So this is about that. This decorative potteries for decoration. The last category of the pottery is that perforated pottery. So you just write name and we'll see that what is that. So perforated pottery. perforated pottery. So as the name suggests that there must be some perforations in that. So I'll create that, what kind of perforation was there. So means that perforations are there. These are the perforations. Okay? So these are the perforations. See, here in the diagram we have created some big kind of perforations, but actually it is a needle shaped perforation, okay? Not a very big that you can't see from the naked eyes. Then, so basically microscope se dekhoge to you will see the perforation. Then, but when you pour water into that, it will start oozing out. So then you can see it from the naked eye that there is a perforation. Then, so can you tell me that why this kind of poetry was created? Grain storage. No, cooling of water that we use in the North India, सुराही, ठीक है? सुराही से पानी बाहर नहीं आता है, ठीक है? सुराही से पानी बाहर नहीं आता है, ठीक है? It doesn't oozes out of the सुराही. हाँ, वाइन के लिए पता है तुमको, ये वाला तो पता है तुमको, ठीक है? So it was meant for straining liquor. It was meant for straining liquor. हाँ, मेथड भी बता देता हूँ, घर पे बना लेना, ठीक है? So now listen, what they do that you know the I know that you know the method of the creating that alcohol. So there are some ingredients like the wheat, malt, barley, okay? So these all kind of things are fermented. Then once it is fermented, so now we need to evaporate that fermented material. Then so what they will do that they will keep a lid on this area, and then this will be put on fire, and here collecting vessel would be there on both sides. Collection vessel would be there both side, and then now they will start heating it. So whatever vapor that would be there, it will condense and then it will start oozing out of this. So that's how it was collected. Then so even I have seen that people creating alcohol in the pressure cooker. Okay? So yes, that's how that वो बोलते ना देसी ठर्रा. So I have seen that in the villages. Yes. So people creating in the pressure cookers, and then हिंदी में word होता है that छापा पड़ा होगा तुम लोग छापा पढ़ते हैं, ठीक है? So वो pressure cooker. I was small and then I was saying that ये पुलिस वाले pressure cooker लेके क्यों जा रहे हैं? So then somebody said to me that इससे alcohol भी बनता है. So that's how it was there. So it was meant for the straining liquor. And from time immemorial, when the human beings opened their eyes, they were in the search of the intoxicating material. And that's how first they created the liquor. So liquor is there from the time immemorial. And those governments who are banning it, they will be banned someday by the people. So now, so let's come to the, so in which all states it is banned? Can you tell me? Bihar and Gujarat. गुजरात में तो वैसे भी मतलब चलता है, ठीक है? वो नाम के लिए बस बैन है. There is a one state where it is decided that in the phased manner they will kind of eliminate liquor from the state, and that is the Kerala. Okay? So in a phased manner, and they have kind of come out with the very good policy, and actually the only state, Bihar is also, they are implementing it very well, but also Kerala is the one state which can be appreciated for that the strategy which they have evolved, slowly they are kind of that coming out with the norms, and slowly they are very successful in those norms. Then, so within 10 or 15 years, you'll find that people of the Kerala, they will also be free from the liquor. Then, so now, they will search another alternative. But even if UP, Bihar, if it is banned now, so Nepal is there. People go there. So now come to that. So it is the pottery. Then after the pottery, next one, so we will directly go to that. Terracotta sculpture we did, but we need to write few more things about the terracotta sculpture. So terracotta sculptures, you write terracotta sculpture. Terracotta sculpture. So basically what is terracotta? It is also fire baked clay. Then fire baked clay. Fire baked clay. And then the kind of artifacts that we have found from that terracotta, so basically it includes the toys, wheels, cards, these kind of things, and also the image of the idol of the mother goddess. Done. So you write example is toys, cards, wheels, and most important, sculpture of mother goddess. Sculpture of mother goddess. Sculpture of mother goddess. So we have already discussed that what was there in the mother goddess, and I also discussed that she was considered as the goddess of fertility. Then so only this much you write. Now we'll move to the stone sculpture. Terracotta sculpture, then after stone sculpture. Stone sculpture. So basically here we need to know that which stone was used for creating the sculptures. Done. And here also the same stone which was used for creating the seal is used over here. So what was the name? Statite. Done. So you write statite was used for creating stone sculpture. Done. Then example you need to write. There is nothing that you need to know, only the example. So very good example of the stone sculpture is the bearded priest. Then so bearded priest. Bearded priest, and this is the one such example which we debated in the patriarchal society hai ya matriarchal. So we wrote on that day that some people said that it is a patriarchal society because the priest position was given to the male. Then and the other section said that no, it's a matriarchal society because that most abundant sculpture is the mother goddess. Then so that was the debate. So this is about the stone sculpture. Now elaborately we need to know the bronze sculpture and the method of creation of the bronze sculpture. So you write bronze sculpture and bronze sculpture. So basically bronze is the mixture of copper and tin. So copper and tin. Done. Now, so we also mentioned that tin was obtained from Afghanistan, okay, and copper was available in India. Now, so bronze sculpture, how it was created and why there was a need of creating bronze sculpture. So first you listen that copper is a very malleable material, and whatever that is created from the copper, so it's not going to stay for a very long because there is a corrosive nature of the copper also. Then, so basically when tin was mixed in the copper, so it becomes a kind of that hard material and the corrosiveness of the copper declines. Then, so this bronze sculpture was created. The method of creating this bronze sculpture was known as lost wax technique. Okay? Lost wax technique, and also known as Saire Pardur. This was the method. I think कर लिया था हम लोगों ने classes में. नहीं किया था, ठीक है? So now listen that how it was created. So in this lost wax technique, first an image of a wax was created. Okay? Some image of wax is created. Then this is wax. Then after that, this image is covered with clay. This image is covered with clay. So this one is the clay layer. Then in another pot, they are melting bronze. Okay? So bronze they are melting in a pot. Now what they will do, that they will create a particular pore or hole from this side. They will drain out the wax. Okay? So obvious when you are heating it on fire, so this clay will get hardened. Okay? When you are heating it on fire, so here I am writing fire downstairs. So when you are heating it on fire, so clay will get hardened. Done. And this wax will melt. So now they will create a hole, and then they will replace this wax, okay? They will remove this wax, and now this melt bronze is transferred into that. Then, so now the bronze is there. Then, so melted wax is replaced with the melted bronze. None. Then, now, so they will leave it for 4 or 5 days, whatever amount of days it takes for the cooling purpose. Then, so it will be left for the cooling purpose, and then when kind of enough cooling is done, so what they will do, that they will remove the outer layer, the hardened clay layer. Then, so clay they will remove, and they will get a sculpture. Now, the outside polishing and refining would be done. So that would be the last stage. So if you want to write, I'll dictate. You want to write? लिखना है? ठीक है, लिख लो, जल्दी से लिख लो. That initially a wax figure is created. Initially a wax figure is created. Initially a wax figure is created. Wax figure is created, which was covered with clay, which was covered with clay and baked on fire, and baked on fire, which was covered with clay and baked on fire. Then you write, the melt wax was replaced with molten bronze, replaced with molten bronze. Full stop. That after cooling the sculpture, hardened clay, after cooling the sculpture, hardened clay was removed, and finally sculpture was polished, and refined from outside. Then, so I hope you know that how polishing is done. Take it by kind of that rubbing it. Take it that kind of that. Another, there are some kind of that, nowadays we have the sandstone papers, okay? So we polish it from the sandstone paper. So they must have that kind of something, okay? Through which they were polishing it, okay? And refining means that, for example, that nose is not in a proper shape. So they have some kind of that instrument tools with which they are giving the shape to the nose. So this is kind of that, this is the method. And what I told you on that day, that this method is very relevant because even today in the tribal areas, the same method is used for creating the sculpture. And can you tell me the name of the GI sculpture which I mentioned? No. Bastar could be there, but there is a GI tag. GI tag I am asking. Dhokra. Did I mention on that day? नहीं किया था. यही होता है, किसी क्लास में मेंशन करो, लगता है कि इस क्लास में मेंशन किया है. ठीक है. So you write that this method is so important. This method is so important. This method is so important that even today, in many tribal areas, it is used for, in many tribal areas, it is used for creating bronze sculpture. Then further you write, after full stop you write, the very famous Dhokra art, which has GI tag status. The very famous Dhokra art, which has GI tag status. Dhokra art, which has GI tag status, is created from lost wax technique. So basically, Now stop, listen, that basically this kind of that method which was there, so it actually also indicates that the know-how and the intelligence of the people of that particular era, that they were intelligent people, and that's how they were able to create such a fine structure, and which is very much reflected in their town planning, and also the sculpture. So what's your idea of that? That a very good example of the bronze sculpture is the dancing girl. So example is the dancing girl. Now, what's your, those who went to the museum, don't tell me, what's your idea that कितना बड़ा image होगा ये? How large this image is? कितना बड़ा? इतना बड़ा? सही. Anyone from this side? हाँ, this much only. This much only. हाँ, 5 inch only. बहुत छोटा है, ठीक है? So, but बोलोगे कि height बहुत है, इतना small image है, but it is based in a context which is 2600 years there and 2000 years here. So 4600 years back it was there. Achha, recently there was a news that in Iraq, no, Iraq not, Israel, when 4600 year image of the Lord Ram has been found. Yeah, actually, but you know, एक दो दिन पहले आया था, and Subramaniam Swamy has claimed that give it to us. So this news came, I just wanted to know that you have read or not. So एक बार पढ़ना इसको, that what was there. So now you got that how it was there. So Dhokra art, that it is also created in the same style. Then, so now come to that after this sculpture section, the last one, ornaments. Did we discuss the ornaments? So ornaments we'll discuss, and then after town planning heading would be there, we'll move to the Mauryas. Then, so you write that ornaments and jewelry. Ornaments and jewelry. Cosmetics would also be there, ornament and jewelry. You can also write cosmetics. Cosmetics. So ornament, jewelry and cosmetics. Then, so first let's talk about that. Ornament, jewelry is the same thing. So which all kind of ornaments they were using? One is the necklace, then bangles, earrings, okay? Then waistline पे क्या पहनते? What is that? But what's the English name? ठीक है? कमरबंद? No, bracelet. Bracelet is hand. I don't have English name for the same. So वो हिंदी लिख लेना. No, Payal was also there. No, but I'm asking that there is that waistline पे कुछ पहनते हैं, ठीक है? So what is that? Westlet. चलो देखो, right? That Indus Valley people used earrings, necklaces, earrings, necklaces, then anklets and finger rings. Anklets and finger rings. Finger rings. Then we need to know the material of these all kind of ornaments. So they used that, listen, that they used the statite stone also, they used terracotta also, they used wood also, and they used semi-precious and precious stones. So these stones include amethyst, carnelian, lapis lazuli, and then colored marbles also. Okay? So you write that these all ornaments and jewelries were made from, and you can also write the bone was also there. So made from, so first you write terracotta, statite, wood, bone, and semi-precious stones like, so you write the name of the stones: amethyst, carnelian, lapis lazuli, etc. Then, so these all were the materials. Now, So this is the section of the ornaments and jewelry. Cosmetics, we'll see that what kind of cosmetics were used by them. So tell me that what all cosmetics? Already we have mentioned sindoor, lipstick, kajal. Okay? So sindoor, lipstick, kajal were the, and soap also. Done. So, nail polish ka to nahi pata hai mujhe, but so you write that they used soap, lipstick, sindoor and kajal. They use soap, lipstick, sindoor and kajal. Then sindoor and kajal. Then after that, what we need to mention that the last thing is that the tincture was also known to them. Did I mention? Okay. So what was that made up of? Hg2Cl2. Okay. No, HgCl2. Okay. Hg2Cl2 is a calomel. Calomel is the no. Calomel, yes, calomel and corrosive sublimate. Yes. Hg2Cl2 is the tincture, and then HgCl2 is the sindoor. Done. So you write that they also used mercury tincture. Hg2Cl2 and calomel. In brackets you can write calomel. Tincture, calomel. Mercury tincture. No. I am very confirmed. Okay? There were some formulas when I was there in the class 12. So, तब से मुझे याद है 22 camel. ठीक है? That's how I remember this one. ठीक है? And this is corrosive sublimate HgCl2. ठीक है? So, this is corrosive sublimate. And this one. So this was there. So this much, and tincture you already know that it is for the healing of the wound, antiseptic. Done. So that was there. Now the last part is that the town planning, as a heading you write and nothing will write in that one. So as a heading you write, already you have done the town planning. Tincture, T-I-N-C-T-U-R-E. अच्छा, what was the purpose of the kajal? Can you tell me? बाकी सब तो समझ में आ रहा है, लेकिन काजल का क्या पर्पस था? आई साइट बढ़ता है उसे? फॉर व्हाट? फॉर यू आर सेइंग सर? हाँ, मतलब व्हाट यू ऑब्वियस रीजन ही टोल्ड मी, लड़कों को बोलना चाहिए था. व्हाट इज द ऑब्वियस रीजन? फेशियल फीचर्स, नजर न लगे. बाप रे, इतनी सारी. सी, द आईज लुक बिग. ठीक है? And it increases the kind of that aesthetic of the face. Then, but it was not used for that only. It was also used for that one very unique purpose, and which is still there. It was used for that cooling effect in the eyes. Then, so for the cooling purpose, you know that those who are from the medical background, so they must be knowing. And even class 12 tak to pada hi hoga na, that eyes are the one area. There are the areas in your body parts where the body temperature is compared to other parts, it's more. Then eyes are the one section, and inner mouth lining. Then, and there is a reason behind that, that more number of the mitochondria would be there, the powerhouse of the cell. When you do kind of the culture of that, we do that, you take a stab of that and then you do the culture, so you'll see that more number of mitochondria are there. So basically heat is over here more, and there is a internal mechanism in the body that inner mouth lining mein you produce saliva to kind of control that more temperature, and then eyes mein lacrimal glands are there, so they produce tear, but all the time you do not kind of cry. So there must be some outside mechanism, and people must have found that काजल लगाने से आंख ठंडा होता है. ठीक है? तो आंखों की जलन कम होती है, सीने की जलन नहीं. ठीक है? so हाँ, सुरमा भी यूज होता है, वो बाद में कभी आएगा. So it was used for the cooling effect in the eyes. So now we are done with the Indus Valley civilization. Now we'll move to the Mauryan period. And here some serious discussions would be there. So because the stupa is going to emerge at this point of time. But in the Maurya period there was one thing. So पहले लिखो, heading लिखो, Maurya age. टाउन प्लानिंग हो गया है, कितनी बार लिखोगे? टाउन प्लानिंग हेडिंग देके छोड़ दो, हिस्ट्री में भी लिखोगे, यहां पे भी लिखोगे, तुम लोग खुद लिख लेना टाउन प्लानिंग, ठीक है? रिपीटिशन नहीं होगा तो हम लोग कुछ ज्यादा टॉपिक पढ़ लेंगे इसमें. सो मौर्य एज. नाउ before moving into the Maurya age, I do want to go to the Vedic period. Then, so Vedic period. So I do need to mention something, and which was very much kind of that followed in the Maurya period. So now listen that in the end of the later Vedic period, listen carefully. That in the end of the later Vedic period, one movement emerged in the Indian subcontinent, and name of the movement was the Shramana movement. Okay? So the name of the movement was the Shramana movement. Then, and what was this movement all about? Any idea? I have not mentioned, that's why I'm asking. So Shramana movement maybe I have mentioned, but what is the feature of this movement? Fighting? It was like that. You can say that it was an anti-Vedic movement. Then anti-Vedic movement, which means that they were actually the people, the proponents of the Shramana movement, they were protesting against the discriminatory practices, particularly in the later Vedic period, which included, you remember that, animal sacrifices done, and the position of women was declining, the status of the Shudra, then so position of women, status of Shudra, then also Brahminical domination, that Brahmins were dominating, that they were telling you that these are the rituals you perform, you will get, you'll go to the heaven, this kind of thing, so you'll get benefits. So these kind of things were there. Go to heaven, abhi mat dikhna, okay? That's not there. So you will get the benefit, material benefit, wealth benefit. So Brahminical domination. So these all features combined, some people emerged who started to protest against these all discriminatory practices, and these people were called as the Shramana people. And few of the tallest leaders of the Shramana movement, the two of the tallest leaders were the Buddha and then the Mahavira. Okay? So basically we say that Buddhism, Jainism and also Ajivika is the branch of the Shramana movement. So how it is connected, though it is started in the somewhere around 700 AD, then, and that is the last part of the Vedic period. So it started over there, and 300 Mauryas came. So when Mauryas came to power in 300, around 300, so they started to patronize Shramana movement. It means that they were respecting, there was a toleration, accommodation to all the religions or the sects in India. So they were giving equal patronage to all of them. Then, and that was the time when Asoka accepted the Buddhism. Then, so you write that in the rear part of Vedic period, rear matlab end part. So in the rear part of Vedic period, the progressive section of society started Shramana movement. And here you need to ask, तुम लोगों ने रोका नहीं, you need to ask that specific meaning of this Shramana. Okay? So what's the specific meaning? I'll tell you. That specific meaning of this Shramana, that one who strives for his own enlightenment. Now, listen carefully. ठीक है? यहाँ पे Brahminism भी contradict करेंगे. How they will be contradicting? That Brahmins were saying to the people that if you don't follow our instructions, nothing good will happen to you. So it means that you must get the support of the Brahmin, help of the Brahmin to get something useful in your life. Now, Shramana movement says that तुम्हें किसी की जरूरत नहीं है. ठीक है? For your own good. So for your own good, you don't need anybody's help. You yourself, if you kind of introspect about yourself, you do meditate and you think about that, what is there. So you can do good to yourself. There is no requirement of any other teacher. Okay? But don't take it as kind of that, like it is said, for you vision is required. Then, so so Shramana movement, so one who strives for his own enlightenment. That is the meaning. Then you write that, क्या लिखा था? That what's that? Society Shramana movement. Then you write, It was an anti-Vedic movement. It was an anti-Vedic movement. It was an anti-Vedic movement which was against the discriminatory practices of Vedic period. Like, so you write that subordination of women and Shudra, then Brahminical domination, complex Vedic rituals, animal sacrifice, etc. Complex Vedic rituals, animal sacrifice, etc. Then, so they were opposing these all kind of things. Then you write that later, Buddha and Mahavira emerged as the tallest leader of the Shramana movement. Then you write, after full stop, again you write, Shramana also gave rise to Ajivika. Ajivika. Okay? A-J-I-V-I-K-A. Ajivika. So we'll be talking about the Ajivika in the religion and philosophy. So now you understood this part, that background was needed, and then we'll connect it with the Maurya period. So now you change paragraph and then you write about the Mauryas. So you write, when Mauryas came to power, they started to patronize Shramana tradition. Means that movement and tradition are synonymous. Okay? So here movement and tradition are synonymous. So Shramana tradition. Then you write, they created many structures. For the branches of Shramana. So we'll see that what were those structures which were created by the stupa for the Buddhism, and pillars were also later dedicated to Buddhism, and then caves were dedicated to Ajivika. Okay? So we will start with that Mauryan architecture. Then, so architecture and sculpture. So what all topics are there in the Mauryan age art? So just listen that what all things we are going to discuss. So we'll be discussing about, first we'll discussing about the caves, then फिर उसके बाद then we'll discuss about the pillars, Mauryan pillars, then stupa, pottery, and sculpture. So these 5 topics are there which we are going to see in the Maurya period. Then, so let's start with the caves, Mauryan caves. So first one you write Mauryan caves. And though this particular Mauryan cave section, this particular name seems to be very small one, but you will be amazed to know that last 8 years, 3 questions were there from the Mauryan caves itself in the prelims examination. Then, so now, so about the Mauryan caves, listen that these are considered as, Mauryan caves are considered as that the first man-made cave in India. Natural caves were already there, which were there in the Bhimbhetka. Okay? So they are the natural caves, but first man-made caves in India. Then, so you write that they are considered as first man-made cave. They are considered as first man-made caves in India. Man-made caves in India. Then I'll create the diagram and then we'll write. So just listen, just see the diagram that what is there. So from inside it was highly polished, but from outside this kind of entrance gates were created. And beautiful designs were created on these gates. These are the entrance gates of that Mauryan caves. Then at the top of the gate, this section, there was reticular work. Reticular work. So this shape, this is known as semicircular facade. Done? So this particular shape is known as semicircular facade, and this is reticular fabric. Reticular fabric, or most of the time people write jali work. Okay? It's not the counterfeiting of notes. So this is the perforated windows. You must have seen that in all the times plaster of Paris windows were created. So that kind of perforated jalis were there. Done. So this is the, and hey, this is particularly the entrance of the, this is entrance of the cave. Entrance of cave. So these kind of designs were created, and from inside it was very highly polished. Done. So from inside the cave was highly polished. So first you write this one, first you create this one, I'll dictate that what is there inside. Reticular means jali. The mean, they are perforated, yes. But we use the term reticular just like that endoplasmic reticulum. You can see through. You can see through. अरे अभी सुन लेना, पहले रुक जाओ, ठीक है? Then, now you write that the Mauryan caves were highly polished from inside. The Mauryan caves were highly polished from inside. From inside. Mauryan caves were highly polished from inside, and a very beautiful semicircular facade shape was created on the entrance. Semicircular facade shape was created on the entrance. FACAD. Okay? There is another pronunciation also, but I'm not using facade. Facade, I know that, but so basically in the airports you must be seeing that facade, that they use this word, airports, that there is a kind of facade. Done. So, but here we are using it for this one. So now, next part is that semicircular, this part is semicircular. See, there are two semicirculars. Okay? This part is semicircular. Okay? I have created this shape, two semicircular shapes are matched. Done. So now listen. So next part is that purpose of the cave. So he asked that monks के लिए बनाया था, तो घर क्यों नहीं बना दिया? Why they did not created the buildings? Why they created caves? Because monks were always on the move. Okay? And then there was not such great knowledge of that creating the ghar is types. Okay? So monks were always on the move and they needed shelters on their way only. So that's why these all were created. So now you write that these caves were created for the Ajivika monk. These caves were created for the Ajivika monk. Ajivika, monk. Then the people who followed Ajivika. Then we need to write the example. So you write example, you write that Lomas Rishi cave, Lomas Rishi cave, Rishi cave and Sudama cave, both are close to Gaya. Both of them are close to Gaya. There are two hills, one is the Barabar and one is Nagarjuni, within 1.5 kilometers. So in these two hill range only, these caves are there. So Lomas Rishi and Sudama cave. Then next you write Dhauli cave. Dhauli cave. And these are close to Gaya in Bihar and Dhauli cave is in the Odisha. Okay? One more information you write that in front of the Dhauli cave, a large elephant structure was created. Large elephant structure was created by Mauryas. And this was the question which was asked. That rock-cut elephant sculpture of the Dhauli was made by whom? Okay? So Mauryas. So this was the question. Then once they asked about that these caves which were created by the Mauryas, they were meant for whom? So Ajivika, monk. Then so these were two questions. Then if you want to know specifically that who were the rulers who created this particular kind of caves, so basically they were created by the Ashoka and his grandson Dasarath. Okay? So you write that most of the caves were created by Ashoka and his grandson Dasarath. Okay? So this is about this particular the cave of the Mauryas. Now Mauryan pillars. So next one you write Mauryan pillar. And first you create one diagram that how it used to look like. So basically that it was a monolithic pillar. So now you label it . Which one? Mauryan pillar means that they are kind of that's umbrella term, Mauryan pillar, but that means it is Ashok Stambha. Mauryan pillar or Ashokan pillar. Most of the pillars were created by Ashoka. So, but obvious that's their dynasty was Maurya. So that's why we write Mauryan pillar. Abhi likh lo. Uske baad then I'll explain that there are some other crowning animals also. This is kind of that's one diagram that I have created, which is kind of that's from the Sarnath. Okay, that 4 back-to-back lions, but some other animals were also there. So that I'll mention later. First, you create this diagram. This is a symbolic. That one diagram we have created. So till this part, everything was common, but in many places, the crowning animal was something different. and we'll see the purpose also. Abacus, A-B-A-C-U-S, abacus. Done? So now listen that Mauryan pillars, they were one of the finest pillars of that time, around 300 and then in between the 300 to 232. So it was one of the finest pillar which was there, and at that point of time, now listen, we need to make the comparison also. So Mauryan pillars were monolithic. At this point of time, there was one more dynasty, or you can say that one more kingdom in the world, particularly in the Asian area, which was known as Achaemenia. So Achaemenia is the present day Iran. That's some part of the Iran and some part of the Afghanistan. So in the Achaemenia, the rulers of the Achaemenia also created beautiful pillars. And here also pillars were created. So all over the world at that point of time, two kingdoms were there where pillars were created. One is Maurya, another is the Achaemenia in Persia or Iran. So what happened that there, but obviously there would be comparison between the two. So basically when the two were compared, so it was found that Mauryan pillars were much advanced than the Achaemenian pillars. The reason being that Mauryan pillars were monolithic pillar, and monolithic का मतलब होता है that they were created from a single rock cut stone. Then so it doesn't mean that they were made in pieces and then joined. It was not the case in the Mauryan pillar. It was created in one go, one single rock was taken and it was cut into the pillar. While the Persian or the Achaemenian pillars, they were cut into the pieces and then separate parts were created and then they were joined together. Then, and as far as the height is concerned, so height of the Mauryan pillar was somewhere around 40 feet. Then, and then Achaemenian pillars, they were used inside the buildings. Okay? Mauryan pillar को बाहर में लगाते थे and Achaemenian pillars were used inside the building. So if you are using it inside the building, so it cannot rise above 12 feet or 13 feet. Then just like that, this pillar, this must have been 8 or 9 feet, not more than that. Then so इससे भी ऊंचा कर लो, so it will be 12 or 15 feet, not more than that. So it's very difficult to create a monolithic rock cut pillar and that to a height of the 40 feet. Then so that's why it was considered as the technically and also aesthetically more better pillar. Then so first you write the comparison. So you write that when the Mauryas were ruling in India, ruling in India, Achaemenians were ruling in Persia. Achaemenians were ruling in Persia. Achaemenians were ruling in Persia. Then further right, both the dynasties were known for making pillars. So you just do one thing, that one side what you do, that here you write Mauryan pillar and then other side you write Achaemenian pillar. So Achaemenian pillar. Then, and we'll do the comparison. So here you write that Mauryan pillar में लिखना, it was monolithic. It was monolith. Made from single stone. Then Achaemenian pillars, they were made in pieces. And later joined together. Then installed in open. Mauryan pillars were installed in open and Achaemenian pillars were installed inside buildings. Then next one, that average height was 40 feet. and here average height 15 feet. And there was only one thing which was common, that is that both of them were highly polished. Okay? So you can write that highly polished in the Mauryan pillar, and here also highly polished. Highly polished. So both were highly polished, but on the other front they differed, and that's why we say that Mauryan pillars were far better than the Achaemenian pillars. Then, so now already you have written that how the Mauryan pillar, what was there in the Mauryan pillar. So now we will look at the purpose of the Mauryan pillar. So listen carefully, okay? Listen carefully that when we talk about the purpose of the Mauryan pillar, we'll write examples later. So first I'll tell you the purpose. So purpose of the Mauryan pillar, so there are two phases of the Mauryan pillar. One was before the Kalinga war and one was after the Kalinga war, okay? So the purpose changed after the Kalinga war. So you write that purpose of Mauryan pillar, purpose of Mauryan pillar before Kalinga war. Before Kalinga war. Before Kalinga war. So basically, now again I'll tell you that I mentioned on that day that his grandfather, Asoka's grandfather, Chandragupta Maurya, he was a Jivika, and he was Jain. Chandragupta Maurya accepted Jainism and he performed Sallekhana. Then Asoka's father, Bindusar, he was a Jivika. And then Asoka, initially a Jivika and later on Buddhism. So when he was a Jivika, he was not kind of that with the Buddhism. So at that point of time, his purpose for the erecting pillars was very different. So what was that? That these pillars were erected to celebrate the victory. First was that to celebrate the victory. So whichever new area was acquired by Asoka, there was a pillar installed. Then that was the one purpose. Second purpose is that the people of that area, they need to know that what kind of behavior we are expected from the new kingdom, and also what is the amount of tax we need to pay. So these are the imperial orders. So basically, these pillars were erected in the open and they were so high so that people from very far distance, they can see the pillar, and when they see pillar, so they come close to the pillar and they see what is written down the pillar. So written down inside that one rock edict is there, and what is written on that. So basically imperial orders were served from the pillars, and now from these imperial orders they will get to know what kind of behavior is expected, what kind of tax is expected. So everything they will get to know when they come closer to the pillar, and that's how the height was kept very high so that they can see it from the very long distance. You got that? So you write that first purpose, before Kalinga war, first purpose. So you write, it was erected for celebrating the victory. It was erected for celebrating the victory. Celebrating the victory. Then second you write that Mauryan pillars were used for serving imperial ceremonies, orders or commands. Then, so imperial ceremonies means that Rajasic Ades and orders and commands you already know. So this is how it was there. So this is before the Kalinga war. Now there was a change of heart that after the Kalinga war. So there was change of heart, and then now altogether the purpose of the pillar changed. So what was that? Any idea? Spreading of Buddhism. Yes. So spreading Buddhism was the one, and we will better write that spreading the doctrine of Dhamma. Done. So spreading doctrine of Dhamma, and then one is that celebrating the important life events of the Buddha. Okay? That Buddha, the place where Buddha was born, where he died, then so this kind of thing. Okay? So important places associated with the Buddha, there this kind of pillars were erected. Then so first you write that after Kalinga war, and then you write first one. So it was meant for spreading the message of Dhamma. Spreading the message of Dhamma. Spreading the message of Dhamma. And in brackets you can write doctrine of Buddhism. Doctrine of Buddhism. Message of Dhamma and doctrine of Buddhism. That then after that you write, second you write, to celebrate important life events of Buddha. Second one, to celebrate important life events of Buddha. To celebrate important life events of Buddha. Okay? So this is all about that the purpose of the Mauryan pillars. One is before and one is after. Now we'll write the examples where some different kind of crowning animals are there. So always when the question comes into the paper, so they can ask you about that, the purpose also, but at the same point of time, they are very focused on that in one particular pillar, what is that crowning animal. Then, so you write that example. So example, first of all, you write Sarnath pillar. Sarnath pillar. And Sarnath is close to the Varanasi. Then, in this pillar, what we need to write, crowning animal. Crowning animal. And crowning animal is 4 back-to-back lands. Then, that's there, this you know. And also, it is also the state emblem of India, Government of India. So, Sarnath pillar, particularly the abacus part. Abacus and then the crowning animal. These two parts are the emblem of the state emblem of India. So, here I am writing that abacus plus crowning animal of Sarnath is state emblem of India. State emblem of India. और इसके नीचे क्या लिखा होता है स्टेट एम्बलम के नीचे? सत्यमेव जयते. And it is taken from which place? Mundaka Upanishad. This was also one question. So you write that, and then the emblem tag is ये मौर्य से रिलेटेड नहीं है एम्बलम टैग, ठीक है, बट यू नीड टू राइट, यहीं पे लिख लो. द एम्बलम टैग इज सत्यमेव जयते. सत्यमेव जयते, टेकन फ्रॉम मुंडक उपनिषद. मुंडक उपनिषद, taken from Mundak Upanishad. So emblem they have taken from the Mauryas, and then Upanishad is the part of the later Vedic period. Truth always wins. Okay? This is a Sanskrit. Satyameva Jayate. So now you got that this one. This is Sarnath pillar, the most important example. Now you write Lauriya Nandangad pillar. Lauriya Nandangad pillar, and this is from Bihar. Lauriya Nandangad pillar, and here also the crowning animal is lion. One single lion is there. Then next you write Rampurva pillar. Rampurva pillar. This is also from Bihar, and at this place crowning animal is a bull. Then one last example I'll write, that is Sankisa pillar. Sankisa pillar. This is from UP, and here the crowning animal is the elephant. Crowning animal, there was some philosophy here that elephant was the sign of the peace, then, and bull is the courage, power. Okay? Bull is the courage and power. Then, and that elephants, lions are their resilience. Then, stealth, resilience, strength, these all kind of things. Then, so basically, elephant became common. Elephant kind of that thing happened after the Kalinga War, and before that bull and lion was common. Then no, no, reason is specific. See, that here, that 4 back-to-back lions was, that the Sarnath pillar, it was Dharma Chakra Parivartan. That first it indicated the first ceremony of the Buddha. I'll be mentioning in the Buddhism. I'll be mentioning that this again, that Dharma Chakra Parivartan, the first preaching of the Buddha. Okay? So not all of them are related to that, but particularly Sarnath pillar is related to the Dharma. You write in the Sarnath pillar that Sarnath pillar indicates Dharma Chakra Parivartan. Dharma Chakra Parivartan. And what is that? Any idea? Turning the law of religion, or turning the wheel of law or religion. So you can write, I'll explain it in the Buddhism. So turning the wheel of law and religion. Done? So this much examples. So you write heading stupa and then we'll continue after the break. Okay? So stupa will continue after the break, and that's going to be a very large section, and then there are so many concepts involved in the stupa. So let's start with the stupa. Stupa, and then the word stupa, it's a Sanskrit word, and the meaning of this word is heap of sand. It's a Sanskrit word which means heap of sand. It's a Sanskrit word which means heap of sand. Now, there are a few questions before start of that stupa. So, just answer that. Do you believe that stupa, stupa was originated during the Maurya period or Buddha period, or it was before these all? Before these all. Kab? When? बता तो दिया before this all, but you tell me that when? बोलो. IVC में होता तो हमने जिक्र किया होता. Which time? Vedic period. Yeah, actually. So Vedic period. So I'll give you the reason behind that. So now just listen, that stupa kind of concept emerged in the Vedic period, and Sanskrit, it's related to Sanskrit, so but obvious that it must have emerged in the Vedic period, but because for the first time Sanskrit came to India in the Vedic period, so it emerged in the Vedic period. So what is the reason behind that, why this stupa kind of thing became very popular? So you must know that at that point of time when the later Vedic period was there, and then also the Vedic period, in the beginning of the Vedic period also, so there were some saints, and we usually call them Rishi. Okay? So have you heard about this word, Rishi? So many Rishis were there, which included the Yagyavalkya, Agastya, Atharva Rishi, Angira Rishi. So many Rishis were there. They were the intellectual personalities then, and they have different kind of insight to the people. So basically how they got this insight, so there was a method, and that method was the meditation. So most of the time when these people were meditating in the open, then, so when these people were meditating in the open, for example, that they are meditating in the open, and what will happen, that they will meditate for 3-4 months. It is possible, because you have seen in the independence era also, freedom struggle era also, that there were so many people who kind of that, yes, Jatin Bigha Das done. So how many days? 67 or, no, 67 or 68, something in 60. 52 days was the Patti Sri Ramalu. Okay, so he was there. So they can keep fast till 60 days. So it is very much possible they can also meditate for the 2 or 3 months. Then, so when they were meditating for the 2 or 3 months, so what happened, that when they are meditating in the open, so but obvious that a heap of sand will get collected over their body. Then, so heap of sand. आजकल के टाइम पे दिल्ली में बैठ जाओ रोड पे, एक दिन के बाद मिलोगे नहीं. So heap of sand. So let's listen to that. Okay? No. there is a flaw in that. So in your meditation, you need to go to Baba Ramdev. I'll give you the tickets. So now listen. So they were kind of meditating then, and they were thinking about that whatever that was there, whatever that process was there. So they were already intellectuals, and then when they came out of that meditation, so basically they did had a different kind of insight then. So when they did had a different kind of insight, so when they were telling this thing to the people, that this kind of insight is there, so they were actually influenced by these rishis then. So people started to believe that their knowledge is because of this meditation and this particular stage of the stupa then. So once these people died, so what they did, that they said, since they are intellectual people and they have kind of acquired this kind of knowledge because of that stupa stage, then they started to call it stupa stage, not the meditation but the stupa stage. So these people were cremated in the stupa formations then. So they were created in the cremated in the stupa formations, and it kind of that it became a norm that intellectual people were cremated in the stupa formations. Now Buddha, so how come Buddha? So Buddha was also one of the intellectual person related to the Hinduism. Okay? He was a Kshatriya, and then earlier he was believed to be the Hindu. So when he died, so his followers, they also believed that he is one of those intellectual, and he has got those kind of that insights because of that stupa stage. So, and he also did 49-day meditation then in the Bodh Gaya. So when he died, so his followers created a stupa. That was a story, that how it came to picture. Now, till the death of the Buddha, not big stupas were created. They were kind of simple formations, that their body was cremated and uske upar se mitti lagaya, this kind of shape was created. But what happened when Asoka came to power? He accepted Buddhism, so he decided that he will give a grand form to the stupa. And then he initially, what he did, that Buddha died in Kushinagar, that's a place in the eastern UP. So at this place he's at, so he went to that place and then he re-excavated, and whatever remains of the Buddha that was there, that it was divided into 9 parts, the remains of Buddha, and initially 9 stupas were created then. Or uske baad then Asoka took initiative. It is said that may be little bit exaggerated, that it is said that he created 84,000 stupas, which is actually that exaggerated feature, but that's how it is written in the some books. So 84,000 stupas, and that's how he popularized the stupa making all over India then. So we just need to write that its origin, not the exact like that, but we need to write that it originated in the Vedic period then. So you write that stupa concept originated in the Vedic period. Stupa concept originated in the Vedic period, and it was carried forwarded by the followers of Buddha. It was carried forwarded by the followers of Buddha. Then after full stop you write, when Asoka accepted Buddhism, then he decided to create 9 large stupas. Then he decided to create 9 large stupas on the relics of Buddha, or remains of Buddha, on the relics of Buddha. So these 9 places are actually mentioned in new NCERT also and old NCERT also. So see, the original remains of Buddha are there only in this 9 stupas. Otherwise, in other stupa there is no remain. Symbolic remain is there, means that symbolism is there, but not the original is there. So only 9 stupas do have the remains of Buddha. So we need to write the names of those 9 stupas. So first I want you to make a guess that कौन-कौन से place हो सकते हैं where this was there. So let me write Sanchi, एक किसी ने बोला सांची, फिर सारनाथ, then Lumbini, yes, Lumbini, then just 1 minute, Lumbini, Kushinagar, and then just एक बार लिख लेने दो, and then somebody said Amravati, फिर और बताओ, Shravasti, okay, Shravasti. श्रावस्ती किधर गया? अच्छा ठीक है, सो बोध गया. चलो, देन एनी अदर प्लेस दैट यू कैन मेंशन? विच? वैशाली. ठीक है, चलो, आई मेंशन वैशाली ऑल्सो. देन एनी अदर? विच वन? End, the end. Chalo. Now, so why you have mentioned these places? Why Sarnath? Because you have mentioned because the first ceremony, Dharm Chakra Parivartan. ठीक है? Then why Lumbini? Birthplace. ठीक है? And why Amravati? Why Sanchi? The biggest stupa, ठीक है, was there at the Sanchi. Amravati? No reason. Sravasti? Ceremonies of Buddha. Bodh Gaya? Nirvana. ठीक है? So now let me tell you that where the stupas were, actually initial stupas were there. ठीक है? They were not in any of these. So it was there at Kushinagar is there because from that place only they took the relics. So, but obvious it would be there. Then Vaishali is correct. Then so let me write the name of the places where exactly he created. So initial, the stupas which have the relics of Buddha. So there are some names which you may not have heard. Alakappa, Ramagram, Vithapid, Pipalvina, Rajagriha, Vaishali. So how much is there? 7 we have written. So Alakap, Ramagram, Vethapit, Pipalvina, Rajagriha, Pava, Kushinagar, Vaishali, and Kapilavastu. Kapilavastu. Then, so these are the 9 places where initial stupas were created, and these are the stupas which do have the original relics of Buddha. Okay? No. If you have written that earlier list, you need to cut that down. मैं देख रहा था लोग लिख रहे थे तेजी से, जल्दी जल्दी से. मैंने तो नहीं बोला लिखने के लिए. Then, so this is about that, these initial 9 stupas. But about the Sanchi was also created by Asoka, okay? But Sanchi do not have the relics of the Buddha. And Sanchi was, in the Mauryan time, it was the largest stupa. So I'll tell you the reason, we don't need to write. The reason was that the Asoka's favorite wife, her name was Sridevi, okay? And she was from Sanchi. So when Asoka took this initiative to create these all stupas, so she was very angry that why the hell you did not created a stupa in my Maika, okay? So, but obvious that Asoka had to do something for the wife. So he said that, acha cholo jo hua so hua, whatever that has happened, I'll create a very big stupa in the Sasural. Then, and that's how the Sanchi stupa was created. So Sanchi stupa was created later, and later on some other stupas like the Lumbini and these all places were created, but they do not have the original remains of the Buddha. Then, so this is how it is there. Now we will move to the structure of the stupa, and there are few things which we need to see from the symbolic meanings are involved over here. So you create a diagram and on a full page, पूरा पेज एक ले लो, ठीक है? क्योंकि आधे पेज में तो नहीं होगा. So because so many meanings are involved over here. So you create this diagram. And be careful that you need to create the diagram like this only, that the upper disk would be the smallest and then the lower one would be the largest. Okay? So so many symbolic meanings are there. So we'll write later, but first you create this diagram. And here you need to create one imaginary path. Not imaginary, but here it was well laid path, open path, which was known as the Pradakshina path. So I'll name it, but first you create diagram. And then from this side, you need to create the gateways and then the boundary wall. And here also I'm creating that there were 4 gateways. So 4 gateways. So now write the names of these all. So this part is Medhi. Medhi. And as you know, this is Anda. Then Harmika. Harmika. Then Yasti. These 3 are known as Chhatri. Chhatri. Then this is Vedika. Vedika. The gateways are known as Torana. Toran. This path is the Pradakshina path. Pradakshina path. And these are the relics of Buddha. Relics of Buddha. These are the relics of Buddha. So Chhatri, Yasti, Harmika, Anda, Medhi, relics of Buddha, Pradakshinapat, Toran and Vedika. ऐसे नहीं कंपेयर ऐसे नहीं करेंगे. Samadhi is a different thing and then stupa is a different thing. Samadhi doesn't mean death. ठीक है, that's a stage of the meditation. Done? You have not created Medhi. Medhi तो बनाओ. तुमने अंडा ही बनाया है. Pradakshina path. Pronunciation would be the Pradakshina path. It is a circumambulation pathway. But they don't use the English words, and particularly in the stupa. So you don't need to write any English word. These are the Pali terms. Okay? They all are in the Pali. So Chhatri, Yasti, Harmika, Anda, Medhi, Vedika, Torana, Pradakshina path, and then the relics of Buddha. That is the Asthi Avases, what we say, Asthi Avases, but this much you write. Now, so I will ask you few questions, okay? And then I'll explain these all. So first you listen this part, that here you see that this Medhi part, here the relics of the Buddha is there, but stupa is a closed structure. Listen, that stupa is a closed structure, you cannot enter inside the Medhi. Done? So once the relics of the Buddha is kept, it is closed and nobody can enter. It's a permanently closed. So permanently closed, you can access the stupa from the Pradakshina path. Then, and then people do worship from the Pradakshina path. So they kind of candles, and then they light the candles, and then they do the circumambulation, they pray, they meditate on this Pradakshina path only. This is a very wide pathway. So people meditate on this also. So this is how it is there. Then this part, Harmika, is a kind of that platform from which the Yasti is emerging. And Yasti is considered as that, in Buddhism, Yasti is considered as the axis of the earth. Okay? So one by one, I will write on one side the symbolic meaning involved. So here I am writing symbolic meaning. Symbolic meaning. And first one you write Yasti. Yasti has a symbolic meaning and it is considered as axis of earth. It is considered as axis of earth. Then now come to the Chhatri part. So there are 3 Chhatris. So first you write the Chhatri and then create the diagram here also. Because we need to go by the diagrams only, that what is the symbolic meaning involved in this diagram. Then, so Chhatri, and symbolic meaning involved in the Chhatri, the upper one is known as Buddha. Middle one, Dhamma. And lower one, Sangha. So the meaning of this Chhatri, all the 3 have different meanings, and these Chhatri are considered as the 3 jewels of Buddhism. 3 jewels of Buddhism. Then I'll write the meaning also. The Buddha, so that's the Buddha, but his meaning of his name is the awakened one. Awakened one. What is Dhamma? This is the doctrine of the Buddhism. So this is doctrine of Buddhism. And what is Sangha? Followers of Buddhism. The order of Buddhism, particularly. Order of Buddhism. So, but obvious that why it was kept at the topmost point, because he is the one, because of him, the Buddhism is there, and he is only one. So he is kept on a little desk, but at the above. Then Dhamma, there would be so many doctrines done, so doctrines would be there. And more than the doctrines would be the followers. So that's why this is the largest. Then, so this is how these Chhatris were there. Then after this, now I need to talk about the Torana, the symbolic meaning involved over here. So first you leave this part, keep space over here that for writing the symbolic meaning. But can you tell me that why there were 4 gateways in the Buddhist stupas? 4 gateways. What they? 4 directions. 4 directions. Then any other? Any other? Four? Yes, actually. They indicate the 4 important life events of Buddha. Okay? So I will also explain it through the diagram with the map of India. So just wait for 1 minute. That this place where he was born. So I'll go one by one that where, and so just this much only. Now there are 4 events which I'm writing. So 4 events, listen, first ek bar sun lo, that the first most important life event of Buddha was the birth. Then second was the Nirvana. Then third was the Dharma Chakra Parivartan, first ceremony. And fourth is the death. Then so now come to the birth of the Buddha. Birth of the Buddha was there at this place. Then just 1 minute. Birth of the Buddha was there at this place, and this is known as the Lumbini. Then Lumbini, then Nirvana happened when he is moving to the Bodh Gaya. So this place is the Nirvana, and the place is Bodh Gaya. Bodh Gaya. And from here, Sarnath. Sarnath, and Sarnath is the Dharma Chakra Parivartan. And then now he'll move to the, this is Kushinagar. So Kushinagar, and here Mahaparinirvana, MPN, birth. Then Nirvana and Bodh Gaya, Dharma Chakra Parivartan. Now assign directions to these. Assign directions to these places. So which direction you will give to the Lumbini? East. Very good. And Bodh Gaya? South. Yes, he is moving to the south. Then Sarnath, west. And Kushinagar, north. Same way, the East Torana. East Torana, this is the East Torana, and it will indicate birth of Buddha. Then this is South Torana, okay, and this will indicate Nirvana. Then this is the West. So West Torana will indicate Dharma Chakra Parivartan. Then the North is the death, Mahaparinirvana. Mahaparinirvana. So now you can write these meaning that 4 Toranas. So one by one we need to write that 4 Toranas. So East, you can write that East Toran, birth. Then South Toran, Nirvana. West Toran, Dharma Chakra Parivartan. Dharma Chakra Parivartan. And then the last one, North Torana, that is the Mahaparinirvana. Then what is? Yes, we'll come to that. Okay, we'll come to that. In Buddhism itself, we'll be talking about the Nirvana and what is that Mahaparinirvana also. Here you just mention it for the sake of that writing, but very elaborately we'll be discussing that what is Nirvana, what does it mean, and how it is different from the other concepts of the salvation. You understood it from the map? Then, so this way you need to kind of that, see, this is the method that how you'll be remembering the facts which are kind of, which may seem difficult to you. Okay? But this is a methodical thing that if you go by the same kind of steps, so you will never forget this kind of facts. So, now, done? 1 second में तो नहीं पूरा होगा. Ask for 1 minute. Now, listen about the Vedika. So, Torana I have mentioned now this Vedika. So, this is the boundary wall. Vedika is the boundary wall, but here also some symbolic meaning is involved. But first we need to know that what is there on the Vedika. So, these boundary walls which were there at the time of the Mauryas, so basically on the Vedikas, various Jataka stories were engraved. Okay? So, you write, in the symbolic meaning itself you write, on the Vedikas or boundary walls, various Jataka stories or Jatak Katha, various Jataka stories or Jatak Katha were engraved. Various Jataka story or Jatak Katha were engraved. So there are 2 questions which you have asked to me. One is that Nirvana and another is that would be the what is Jataka story. Okay? So first I'll address Nirvana. Nirvana is a type of salvation. Okay? I'm saying type of salvation. Elaborate discussion I'll do in the Buddhism. Done? So which kind of salvation? So Mukti ek tarah se. And then what is this Jataka story? हाँ, they are the story of the, they are the mythological story related to the birth of the previous life of the Buddha, and also they do carry moral intellectual lessons. Then, and they are didactic in nature. So didactic word means that if you read a story and you figure out the moral lesson for you, so that is didactic. Then, so didactic story. So you can write separately, कहीं अलग से लिख लो, that Jataka stories or folk narratives. So English name for the same is the folk narrative. Folk narrative, and this was actually which was asked in the paper 2016. So Jataka stories or folk narratives are related to the story of previous life of Buddha. Previous life of Buddha. Then further you mention that they are mythological in nature. So can you tell me that when I mention mythological, what does it mean? Means that there is no real evidence of the story. Okay? So they are mythological in nature. Then further you write, but at the same point of time, they are didactic. So, but at the same point of time, they are didactic. So you write this one, and in brackets you write moral intellectual lessons. Moral intellectual lessons. Didactic and moral intellectual lessons. Moral intellectual lessons. And so this is about the Jataka story. So this much meaning is involved over there, and this is how the stupa is there. Done? So now we are done with the stupa. The question which was there in the 2016 that was related to the stupa, the very first question of the 2016 mains paper, stupa, that symbolic meaning involved in the stupa and the folk narratives. So this was there. So you needed to write these all. Done? And so now we are done with the stupa. I don't think that anything extra is needed to be written because already you have written. Done? अब इसको बस ये काम करना है कि जब whenever you will be writing the answer, your own language must be there. You got that? Not the language of the class. So that would be there. So now come to the last two topics of the Mauryas. So first you write the sculpture. First you write sculpture. Mauryan sculptures. There is a one meaning. Listen, I forgot that. Overall, stupa is considered as the body of Buddha. Okay? एक मिनट सुन लेना. That what is there? Overall, this stupa is considered as the body of the Buddha. So how it is there? That and this much part. So this medhi is considered as leg of Buddha. लिख लो, इसको भी लिख लो. That medhi is considered as leg of Buddha. Then this anda part is that middle body of Buddha. Anda part is middle body of Buddha. Middle body of Buddha. And then this much. These three. Harmika plus Yasti plus Chhatri. This is the head of Buddha. Head of Buddha. So Medhi is the leg of Buddha, then Anda is the middle body of the Buddha, and then Harmika, Yasti and Chhatri, they are the head of the Buddha, including the neck part. Okay? So, and symbolically, इसके बाद भी लिख लेना, the last word you write, that symbolically, stupa is the microcosm of Buddha. Stupa is microcosm of Buddha. What do you mean by microcosm? Microcosm? हाँ, छोटा. For example, that you have the very big Taj Mahal, but when you fell in love, you present a gift to somebody. So that gift is the microcosm of the Taj Mahal. Okay? So this is the representation of the Buddha's body. Then, so now, आजकल नहीं देते मुझे पता है, ठीक है? आजकल तो सीधे फोन का डिमांड होता है, आईफोन चाहिए। नहीं, मैंने नहीं दिया है। अपने पास ही मुश्किल से आता है। Done. So now we'll move to the Mauryan sculpture. Mauryan sculpture. So now here also again I want to ask you, maybe तुम लोग को नहीं पता होगा, but फिर भी that whose sculpture was created at this point of time? किसका image? Who? No. No. No idea. See, I'll tell you that later on you'll relate. You have written that particular Asoka period and then the assembly. Okay? Did I mention in the Ajashatru, the Buddhist assembly, first assembly, Kalasok, second assembly, Asoka, third assembly, and then the Kanishk, fourth assembly. When was the Hinayan and Mahayan created? Fourth assembly. Okay? And with the arrival of the Hinayan Mahayan, because Mahayan was the one who was of the view of creating the idols. Then, so Mahayan ke pehle in Buddhism there was no idol worship. So it means that Asoka time there was no idol worship of the Buddha. ठीक है? So idols of Buddha was not there. ठीक है? क्योंकि Buddhism में अभी तक idol worship आया ही नहीं था. There was no idol worship in Buddhism till this point of time. So no idol worship. But at this point of time, there were two figures who were worshipped all over India, irrespective of the religion. They were worshipped in the Buddhism also, Jainism also, Hinduism also, and even when I say pan-India phenomena, so they were also worshipped in the Tamil Nadu also, where the greatest epic of the Tamil Nadu, Silappatikaram, it also mentioned the worship of these two deities. So these two deities are the Yaksha and Yakshini. Yaksha and Yakshini. So their sculptures were created all over India in the Mauryan period. So you write that Mauryan rulers created sculptures of Yaksha and Yakshini. Yaksha and Yakshini created sculptures of Yaksha and Yakshini. So we need to write little bit about the Yaksha and Yakshini. Who were this? Okay? So these people, Yaksha and Yakshini, were considered as the object of the folk worship in the folk religion. Means that though it was localized, but there was a similarity that all over India that Yaksha and Yakshini were worshipped in the localized areas. So you write that Yaksha and Yakshini were object of the folk worship. Yaksha and Yakshini were the object of folk worship, FOLK, folk worship all over India. So one by one I'll give you the example, so where they were worshipped. So you write that in Jainism there was concept of 24 Yakshinis. In Jainism, there was concept of 24 Yakshinis, then who were worshipped. In Jainism, there was concept of 24 Yakshinis who were worshipped. Then after that you write, in Buddhism, images of Yakshini, images of Yakshini were created, images of Yakshini were created on the gateways of stupa. On the gateways of stupa. Then further you write, the most popular Yakshini of Buddhism is Sal Bhanjika Yakshini. Salbhanjika Yakshini. The most popular Yakshini in Buddhism is Salbhanjika Yakshini. See on the board spelling. Salbhanjika Yakshini. Salbhanjika. And what's the meaning of that? So basically, that you know Sal is a tree. Sal tree. Then, so basically this Yakshini, she is holding a branch of a sal tree. Then, that she is holding a branch of a sal tree. And this particular image is considered as the very auspicious in Buddhism. Then, so you're right. It depicts Yakshini holding. It depicts Yakshini holding branch of a sal tree. Branch of a sal tree. Branch of a sal tree. Then further you mention, she is considered as branch of a sal tree, and she is considered as very auspicious in Buddhism. God, you people are writing auspicious. कहीं कुछ लोगों ने लिखा था suspicious. So very auspicious in Buddhism. Then now the next part is that Hinduism. So Hinduism mein Yaksha is mentioned somewhere. First I want to talk about the Yaksha. So can you tell me that where Yaksha is mentioned? Mahabharata. Very good. Exactly. So there was a conversation between the Yudhishthir and the Yaksha. Did you remember? Do you remember that? So Yaksha was a kind of that pure figure. He was a religious figure in the very famous epic Mahabharata, and he was worshipped all over North India. So you write that Yaksha worship is mentioned. Yaksha worship is mentioned in Mahabharata. Yaksha worship is mentioned in Mahabharata. Then further you write Yakshini, about Yakshini. Yakshini in Hinduism, was worshipped in Sapta Matrika Puja. Was worshipped in Sapta Matrika Puja. Means that Sapta means the 7 Yakshinis were worshipped in the Hinduism, Sapta Matrika Puja. Then we need to write about that, the south also. So you write that Tamil epic, Silapa Dikaram, Tamil epic, Silapa Dikaram also mentions, worship of Yakshini in South India. Worship of Yakshini in South India. Worship of Yakshini in South India. Then, so now you got that whose image was created. So Yaksh and Yakshini's sculptures were created in the Maurya period. Then, so this is all about that, the sculptures of the Mauryan sculpture. Then, now the last topic is that the pottery of the Maurya period. Then, so Mauryan pottery. So you write Mauryan pottery. Mauryan pottery. So there was a specific name of the Mauryan pottery. Any idea? NBPW. Okay? So it was known as Nadan Black Polished Ware. Nadan Black Polished Ware. NBPW. Nadan Black Polished Ware. So the characteristic pottery of Maurya was NBPW. The characteristic pottery was NBPW. Then, so now listen to this part. That this NBPW Mauryan pottery, it was considered as the climax of the pottery making. Then, so it was considered as the climax of the pottery making because it was black in color, that's a different thing, but it was highly polished. Then, so highly polished pottery of that period. So why this was highly polished? There were many reasons. Then, so I'll tell you that why it was highly polished. So the first reason is that if you want to polish something, okay, so that particular substance or artifact must be very smooth, okay, the surface must be very smooth. So when you are creating a pottery, consider that when you are creating a pottery and you have a kind of normal kind of soil is there, so but obvious that there would be some coarse grains, okay, coarse grains, and Hindi में क्या बोलते हैं? Conquered. You know that? Conquered. So coarse grain or conquer would be there. So this coarse grain will actually obstruct the polishing. Okay? So for example, that here surface is not very smooth. It is rough. Then so coarse grains are there. So some coarse grain is there, and when I'm going to polish it, so there would be obstruction. Okay? So obstruction होगा, polishing नहीं हो पाएगा. So what they did, that first they filtered the soil. Okay? Filtered the soil or clay, you can write clay, filtered it through the sieve, then sieve, and what was the resultant? That they got very fine particles of clay. So very fine particles of clay. So but obvious, when you have a very fine particle of the clay, there would be no coarse grain in the pottery. Then and then one more method was that earlier pottery, you know that it was made on the wheel. Then so this pottery was created on a very fast moving wheel. So when you are creating on a very fast moving wheel, so obviously the kind of that, it will be a very narrow kind of that wall would be there. It will not be irregular shape wall, or you can thick wall would not be there. Thick wall would not be there, and when narrow wall is there, so it will also help in the particularly polishing it. And finally it was colored with the black color and then polished. Then so now you write that it was the climax of pottery making. It was the climax of pottery making. Then you write they used very fine particles of clay. They used very fine particles of clay, and pottery was created on a fast moving wheel. On a fast moving wheel, which resulted into even shaped pottery. Even shaped pottery. Even shaped pottery means that smooth pottery. Even shaped pottery. Then you write which was colored in black. And highly polished, which was colored in black and highly polished. Then so this is all about that, the Mauryan pottery, and then the Mauryan chapter. So tomorrow we'll be starting the post Maurya, but some people were asking about the books. So I do want to know that कुछ book तुम लोग पढ़ रहे हो या कुछ खरीदा है? So just class notes, yes. R.S. Sharma, that's already I have suggested you that it will be helpful in the ancient also and the art and culture also. Apart from that, if you want to buy anything, so whatever book you have, okay, please don't buy Spectrum. Okay? I'm giving you what not to buy list. Okay? So please don't buy Spectrum. Don't buy any unique book. Don't buy any Tata Magra you can buy, but which one? That you can go for. If you have not brought it, so then it's okay. But if you have, so please bring that book to me. I will mark the chapters. Okay? Not one or two, but 4 or 5 chapters are there which you can go through with that in that book. Okay? So otherwise, I don't think that apart from the NCRTs and the class notes, anything you require. And as far as the class notes are considered, that the printed material is considered. So I have I conveyed you? No. So what I want to convey that note you don't need to read. ठीक है. That particular art and culture 68 page notes that is there. So few of the chapters, particularly that you can see the theater from there, but rest of the chapters you can leave. So you can ask the reason that why you don't need to read that. That is it? No, that's not the reason. The reason is that particular note was created by me way back in 2013. Okay? So, and I myself created, but there is so much of value addition in the classes done. So you will feel that classes mein zyada hai and then there is less in the notes. So you don't need to do the repetition. Everything which is there in that note, that is you are going to write in the class notes. So nahi zarurat hai. There is no need, literally no need. Only for the images you can refer to that notes, and then more value addition would be there in the classes. And there is why we did that, particularly why I did that I did not update it. What happened that when it moved in the market, so everybody was using that. Everybody was using that. So we decided that we will not do any value addition, but value addition would be there for the class students only, and that would be there in the class. So deliberately we are not updating that. Okay? So everything would be there in the class, and what you have written from in your own handwriting, you will kind of that feel the benefit of that when exam is closer. Done. So it will be easy to revise, it will be easy to remember everything when easy to revise and easy to remember everything when it is close to the exam is closer. But book mein kya hota hai that you are going, for example, that any book you take, that I told you that Romila Thapar book, 750 pages. You take the Nitin's book also, that is somewhere around that 800 or 900 pages are there. So it is kind of that when you are reading that book and you have read it one time, so it is not possible to remember all the facts. Even if you read 2-3 times, it is not possible to remember all the facts. So only some specific chapter you go through that book, not all the things, and rest of the things will be completed over here. ठीक है? So नहीं खरीदो कोई book. मेरा suggestion यही है कि go for the NCERTs and go for the class notes. NCERTs you can buy, okay? New, old, whatever you are comfortable with. So you can buy, but don't go for that any other book in the market. There is one more perspective in the market. वो भी बता देता हूँ. That see, that whatever information that can be conveyed in one sentence, बुक में वो 4 से 5 सेंटेंस में कन्वे होता है, ठीक है? दे कन्वे इन 4-5 statements. So why this is so? Because there is a commercial angle to the book also. That if number of the pages are going to be less in the books, so there will be no commercial benefit to the person who is writing the book. So not unnecessarily, but from the commercial perspective, from the business perspective, what can be conveyed in one sentence, it's conveyed in the 10-15 sentence. वो भूमिका बनाने में सारा global warming types है, ठीक है? So इसलिए क्लास नोट्स आर मच बेनिफिशियल टू यू. ठीक है, चलो, थैंक यू. देख सकते हो, ठीक है, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया वेबसाइट्स. इफ यू हैव एनी इंफॉर्मेशन, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कल्चर, तो वो देख सकते हो, ठीक है. लेकिन सीसीआरटी की बात करोगे तो सीसीआरटी इज अ लिटिल कॉम्प्लेक्स, लैंग्वेज इज वेरी कॉम्प्लेक्स, एंड वी हैव इनकॉर्पोरेटेड सीसीआरटी इनटू द नोट्स ऑल्सो. Every part of the CCRT is incorporated. There are some chapters only which you can see from the CCRT. ठीक है.